Now let's take a look at the mixing console parameters. So if I press the mixing console, you can see the panel, which then it controls the master volume for each of the parts or the sections. For example, the first one controls the song playback volume. When you have a standard MIDI file playback, and you can control the volume of that. And by the way, I can use the slider under the screen to change that. And if I want it to go back to the original value, I simply push those two buttons, then it goes back to the reset value. There's also a master style level, and so on and so forth. Multipad, microphone, left voice, and the right three voices. So right there, just on that front panel, I'm able to control those levels that easily. But we can actually dive in deeper in that. If I press the mixing console one more time, that takes me to the first page, which is the style page of the mixing console. Here, you can see three things, really. You can see the level position of the style components, such as percussion, drums, bass, guitar, chord 1, chord 2, etc. You can also press the letter D to the left of the screen and then highlight the panning. So now you can actually change the panning of these instruments in real time. And finally, you can press the letter C to highlight the voice, and there you can actually change the voice. This is a great way to remix things. So just because if you choose an R&B style, like the one I have, this particular one, and if I press number 2 up, it shows me that I'm using a rock kit. But I can switch that to a hip-hop kit, and I wonder what that sounds like. Certainly different, but the benefit that I just showed you is right there. You can explore and you can open up your imagination to change certain attributes of a style from that particular window. One more time, if I press the mixing console button again, then it will take me to the multi-part of the instrument. This is useful when it's connected to a DAW. You see the first 8 channels, and then if I press the letter A on the top, that toggles back and forth between 1 through 8 and then 9 through 16, because it is a multi-timbral instrument that you can play different instruments at the same time. In addition, if I actually go back to the style parts, as you can see, my percussion, drums, bass, etc. If I use the tab button to the top of the right of the screen, I can go to the filter, so I can apply some filter to each part independently, and also I can go to the effects, and just like a real console, you have a send and return, so I can add more reverb, for example, on the guitar without affecting the rest of the instrument. And it's as easy as pressing the letter C, and chord 1, if it happened to be my guitar, then I can change its value, or I can turn the wheel to change its value to have more reverb on that, and then chorus, and then the DSP as well. If I press these 2 buttons again one more time, as I mentioned earlier, then it resets back to where it was originally. Another tab is the EQ part of the mixing console. This is also another surgical tool that allows you to manipulate the tonality of each of the parts. When I say parts, by the way, I mean things like a percussion is a part, a drum part is a part, bass, etc., etc. So now you have actually EQ for each of those parts independently. In addition, also, if I go back to the multi-timbral page, which is 1 through 8 and 9 through 16, there I also have additional EQs for each of those parts independently. And there's one more, actually. There's a master compressor that you can apply to the overall output of the instrument. So as you can see, there are a lot of in-depth and capable parameters of the mixing console that allows you to shape and manipulate and balance the instrument itself when you're producing in a studio or when you're performing live in front of an audience. And to complement that, just like on a real console, you actually have on and off. Basically, it's muting. So an example would be if I'm playing this particular style. Actually, let me go back to the original drum kit by simply re-choosing it again. I'm going to go back to it. If I happen to have a bass player, a friend of mine who's playing bass with me, I can simply go and mute the bass part. So now actually I can play live performance with a live instrument, or even a live drummer, or replace any of these parts with a live musician. So therefore, by having the mute, by having the capability of adjusting the faders, the panning, the EQs, I have full control over the tonality of the instrument and the balance of the instrument at my fingertips from accessing those parameters. Hopefully you get a chance to actually dive into the mixing console and adjust certain parameters of the style that you're playing. Just because the style is programmed in a certain way, you can simply go and change balances and then make it your own individual style that is different than what we at Yamaha programmed. So we gave you the building block of a style, but we give you also the tools to go in using the mixing console and adjust the levels. Maybe bring back the bass just a little bit, just to your satisfaction. Now that you saw how you can access the mixing console parameters of the instrument, I hope you use these techniques to adjust the instrument to your liking.